Okay, this is the installation and removal of a distributor drive on a Type 1 VW Beetle engine. So this is our distributor drive. It's supported at the top end in the case and supported at the bottom end in the case. There's also some shims here, and the shims actually will allow for spacing for up and down movement so that it can engage in and out of the camshaft gear based on the helical gear movement. So sometimes during startup it may lift or may lower as the RPM goes up or down. Also on this drive we have, and you can see here when I turn it, that I have an eccentric right here. This eccentric, because this sits on an angle, we have a fuel pump push rod that rides right against it. That allows movement up and down as this rotates to push up and down on the push rod for the mechanical engine fuel pump. Some guys choose to remove that push rod, and that takes away from friction loading on the engine and increases horsepower. It's only a small amount, but if we can control the small amount and gain small amounts at every rebuild on an engine, then the engine will perform longer and create more power. So the tool that I'm going to use here is very similar to the tool that we were using for removing the pistons from the lubrication system. So I have another tool right here, and that tool sits down inside the top of this drive. Okay, so you can see once I have it down, I can adjust this collar and tighten it onto the tool. I'm just going to do it by hand, but a lot of the times you have to hold this with a combination wrench and then tighten it down to actually get that collar to spread out and bite into the top of the distributor drive. So the purpose behind having this tool is a lot of the times this drive gets stuck down in the case, or it gets out of its orientation and we have to lift it out and reposition it to get the orientation correct for the correct position of the rotor at number 1 cylinder. So if we take a look back at the case, this is where the distributor drive drops down into. So I can take the tool and I can push it down and I can set it into its position. I can unlock the tool with my wrench and then lift the tool out and leave the drive behind. If I need to pull the drive back out, it's simply reversing the procedure. Locking the tool and then pulling the drive back out. Okay, so we're continuing on to look at the inside of the engine case now with the distributor drive locked onto the tool. The purpose also in having this tool is to be able to put the correct amount of shims in for the right spacing underneath the drive. So if the engine is together, the shims can be installed and held in position with some white lube or engine assembly lube and then drop down inside the case. The problem is if you drop one of these thin washers in the case, we have to make sure that we get it back out. And a lot of the times they will drop down into the bottom of the case and it's very hard to get them out. So having the case apart works to your advantage when presetting this dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shims off, and when I go to drop the distributor drive back into position, so what I've done here is installed the distributor drive, and now I've taken the shims and I can install the shims under the drive and then drop it down into position and bottom it, and then we can see where the drive is going to sit, and you can see the eccentric, how it functions on there. Okay, and we go by manufacturer specifications on the shims that we need for the available end float on this particular drive.